I overheard my wife talking to her lover. I can't do this anymore. I have to leave him. I walked in and said, I agree. Then I threw a packed suitcase on the bed. She was left speechless as her secret escape plan was suddenly exposed. I, 42 male, always knew Stephanie was a collector of things. Antique teacups, first edition novels, stray bits of sea glass she'd find on our yearly trip to the coast. I just never realized I was one of them. Something to be polished and displayed until a shinier object caught her eye. The shinier object, I learned, was named Jason. It started subtly. The locked phone screen, a new thing for her. The sudden interest in a spin class that was conveniently across town. The way she'd smile at a text, a soft, private little smile that hadn't been meant for me in years. I'm not a fool, but I am, admittedly, a patient man. I believe in giving people enough rope. I just never expected her to fashion a noose with it and hand me the other end. The end came on a Tuesday. I'd come home a little early. The house was quiet. I walked into our bedroom to change, and that's when I heard it. Her voice, a hushed, urgent whisper from the adjoined master bathroom. I can't do this anymore, Jason. I have to leave him. It's just logistics. The house, the money. I need to figure it out, make a plan. A plan. My wife, the collector, was planning to discard me. My heart didn't shatter. It didn't pound. It went still. A cold, heavy weight in my chest. All the little details, the late nights, the vague excuses, they didn't just click into place. They fused together into a single, ugly picture. I looked at the suitcase on the top shelf of my closet. An old Samsonite, the one we used for weekend trips. I took it down. My movements were silent, deliberate. I opened our shared dresser, her side. I packed methodically, the expensive silk blouses she loved, the designer jeans, the cashmere sweaters. I didn't forget the toiletries from the bathroom cabinet, the fancy French face cream, the serum that cost more than our weekly groceries. I heard the toilet flush. Her footsteps approached the bathroom door. I waited until she was fully in the bedroom, her phone still clutched in her hand. Her eyes widened when she saw me, a flicker of panic in their depths. "You're home early," she said, her voice a little too bright. "I am," I replied, my own voice unnervingly calm. I lifted the packed suitcase and threw it onto the bed between us. The thud was heavy. Final. Her gaze dropped to the suitcase, then back to my face. The color drained from her cheeks. "What? What is this?" "You said you needed to leave," I said, meeting her stare. "I agree, so go." The silence that followed was more profound than any shouting match could ever be. Her mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. The secret plan she'd been whispering about moments before was suddenly splayed out on the bed, exposed and ugly. The strategist in her had met an unforeseen obstacle. Me. And I had a plan of my own. It was just beginning. Update. It's been 7 days since I threw that suitcase on the bed. Thank you for the comments and DMs. It's grounding. A lot of you asked what happened next. The short answer, entitlement happened. Stephanie stood there, speechless, for what felt like an eternity. The first words she finally managed to stammer out were not, "I'm so sorry," or, "How did you know?" They were, "You can't just kick me out." It was so perfectly her. "I'm not kicking you out, Stephanie," I said, keeping my voice level. "I'm facilitating your decision. You said you wanted to leave. I'm helping." I gestured to the suitcase. "Your go bag is ready." She went straight to anger, a defense mechanism I knew well. "This is my house, too. You can't do this." "Actually," I said, pulling a folded paper from my back pocket, "it's not. The house was mine before we married. The prenup we both signed is very clear on that." The prenup. The sensible, unromantic document her own lawyer had advised her to sign 15 years ago. A detail she had clearly forgotten in her planning. The blood drained from her face again. She called Jason. Of course she did. I went downstairs to make coffee. I could hear her frantic, hushed tones from the bedroom. 20 minutes later, a beat-up sports car I'd never seen before pulled into my driveway. Jason, in the flesh. He's exactly what you'd picture. 10 years younger than her, tight t-shirt, gelled hair, and the kind of swagger that comes from never having faced a real consequence in your life. He stormed in, ready to play the hero. "What the hell do you think you're doing to her?" I just looked at him. "Her? Stephanie, you mean? The woman you've been sleeping with?" "I'm granting her wish." I believe her exact words were, "I have to leave him." So she's leaving. The confrontation they expected, the screaming match, never came. I just stood there holding my coffee mug, calm. It completely disarmed them. Their outrage needed fuel, and I refused to provide it. Instead, I became a bureaucratic wall. "You need to get your stuff out of my house," Jason demanded, puffing out his chest. "She has her suitcase," I said. "Anything else she believes is hers, she can list in an email. We can arrange a time for her to retrieve it with a police escort present to keep the peace." The mention of police deflated them instantly. Stephanie began to cry then, the performative, frustrated tears of someone whose script has been thrown out the window. She grabbed the suitcase, and they left. The email arrived the next day. It wasn't a list, it was a novel of demands. She wanted half the value of the house, spousal support, the car, which is in my name. She even listed emotional damages. But the part that truly showcased her mindset was the postscript. "P.S. You owe me for my half of the security deposit on the apartment. I put down my card." Here's the thing. I knew about the apartment. I'd found a credit card statement a month ago, a charge for a $2,850 security deposit. I didn't say anything at the time. I just filed it away. My response to her email was brief. Subject: your items, Stephanie. Per our prenuptial agreement, you are not entitled to equity from the house or spousal support. The car is legally mine. Please provide a detailed, itemized list of your personal belongings by Friday at 5 p.m. We can then schedule a retrieval time. Regarding the security deposit, as the apartment was acquired for the purpose of conducting an extramarital affair, I do not consider that a shared marital expense. However, I'm willing to be reasonable. I have canceled your supplementary credit card and your access to our joint savings account effective this morning. I've also changed the password on the premium Spotify account. I suggest you contact your landlord directly to discuss the deposit. Regards. You know who. The fallout was immediate. Her bank card was declined at a restaurant. His probably was too, from the sound of the screeching voicemail I received from an unknown number shortly after. It seems Jason lives in a small rental and was counting on moving into my house. This morning, I got an email from our mutual friend Laura. Stephanie called me, absolutely hysterical. She said you threw her out with nothing but the clothes on her back and are trying to ruin her life. What is going on? I simply forwarded her Stephanie's demand email, my calm reply, and a screenshot of the credit card statement with the $2,850 charge. I added a single line, "This is what's going on. Hope you're well." The silence from that quarter has been deafening. Justice isn't always a lightning bolt. Sometimes it's just a paper trail. Update. The past 2 weeks have been an education in manufactured victimhood. Stephanie and Jason are on a full-blown PR tour, and I'm cast as the villain. The narrative they're spinning is that I was a cold, controlling husband, and she was a trapped bird who finally found the courage to fly, only for me to maliciously clip her wings. After they left, I spent an hour reviewing footage from the security camera I'd installed by the front door months ago. The one I told her was for package thieves. I found what I was looking for. A time-stamped video of Jason letting himself in with a key. Stephanie had copied, tracking mud all over the Persian rug my grandmother left me. I got a quote from a specialty cleaner. The cost to repair his carelessness, $400. I filed a petition in small claims court the next day. This knowledge came in handy when her mother, Sharon, called me, weeping. "How could you be so cruel, so heartless? After all she's given you." "What exactly did she give me, Sharon?" I asked, my voice gentle. "Besides a mountain of debt on a credit card I paid for and a boyfriend who leaves his muddy Adidas sneakers on my new rug." Silence. Then a flustered, "Well, she loves him. I'm happy for them," I said truthfully. "All I've done is remove the obstacles to their happiness. She's free to be with him. They just have to pay their own way. That isn't cruelty, it's adulthood." The official retrieval of her things was last Saturday. As agreed, 2 officers were present. Jason came with her, looking sullen. Stephanie walked through the house, pointing. "That's mine. That lamp, the dining room chairs, the art in the hallway." Her entitlement was breathtaking. The chairs were a wedding gift from my parents. The art was from a gallery I'd visited years ago. I just shook my head. "No, Stephanie." "Yes, I picked them out," she insisted. "You have excellent taste," I conceded. "But taste doesn't confer ownership. The receipts for those items are in my name, paid from my account." You're welcome to take anything you personally purchased." They left with her clothes and some books. As they were leaving, Jason muttered just loud enough for the officers to hear, "Don't worry, babe. We'll get what's ours." One of the officers noted the comment in the report, a copy of which I requested. Another piece for the file. Their next move was more dramatic. Last night, around 10 p.m., my doorbell rang. It was two different police officers, a man and a woman, both looking wary. "Sir, we received a call requesting a wellness check," the woman said. "The caller stated you were despondent, potentially a danger to yourself." I felt my blood run cold, but I kept my face impassive. "I see. And who was the caller?" "It was anonymous, sir. But they sounded very concerned." "I'll bet they did," I said, stepping back. "Please, come in. As you can see, I'm perfectly fine. I was just reading." I gestured to the book on my chair. "This is a malicious, harassing call. It's part of a campaign by my estranged wife and her partner after I discovered their affair." I walked over to my desk and picked up a thin folder. "This might provide some context. This is a copy of a police report from last Saturday, detailing my wife retrieving her belongings. Please note the final sentence, where her partner, Jason, makes a veiled threat in the presence of two of your colleagues." They read the report. Their entire demeanor shifted. The suspicion in their eyes was replaced by a weary understanding. They had seen this kind of ugly domestic drama before. They apologized for the intrusion, and I thanked them for their professionalism. The incident was documented. Their campaign to paint me as unstable had just given me another official piece of paper proving a pattern of harassment. Final update. It's been 4 months. The dust hasn't so much settled as it has been swept away, revealing a clean, if somewhat empty, foundation. This is the final chapter, the resolution. The small claims court date was an interesting experience. Jason actually showed up, Stephanie in tow. He tried to argue the rug was already old and that the mud was hardly anything. He was loud and indignant. I was quiet. I presented the judge with the video still of him walking on the rug, the timestamp clearly visible. I had a signed affidavit from the rug specialist about the nature of the damage, and a formal, itemized quote for the $400 cleaning. The judge looked from my folder to Jason's blustering and back again. The judgment was in my favor. It took another 2 months and a wage garnishment filing, but I eventually got the $400. It was never about the money. The social fallout for them was a slow burn, not a sudden explosion. Laura had shared the true story with a few people, and that quiet truth was more powerful than Stephanie's loud lies. People weren't openly hostile to her. They just became unavailable. Dinner invitations grew scarce. Calls went to voicemail. Our friends had witnessed my calm, documented approach versus her frantic, contradictory stories. They made their choice, not with a grand gesture, but with 1,000 quiet evasions. The final piece of justice came from a place I never expected. I received a phone call from a man who identified himself as the landlord of Stephanie's apartment. "Hi, I know this is an odd call," he began, "but your number was listed on the application for Stephanie. She and her partner broke their lease, and they owe me a significant amount of money. She told me to call you, that you would help her sort it out." I could almost see her saying it, the desperate, manipulative play of a cornered narcissist. "I'm sorry you're in this position," I said, my voice perfectly level. "Let me be very clear so there's no confusion. Stephanie is my estranged wife. I am not financially responsible for her. Her partner's name is Jason. The security deposit for that apartment was charged to a supplementary credit card in her name, which I have since canceled due to her using it to facilitate the very affair that ended our marriage. She has no access to my funds. Any suggestion that I would sort it out is a complete fabrication on her part. I wish you luck in recouping your losses from them directly." The landlord was silent for a moment, then let out a long sigh. "Thank you. That's very clear. I appreciate your honesty." He pursued them for the full amount. I heard through the grapevine it ended with them draining what little savings they had left. Their relationship, forged in the thrill of a secret, couldn't survive the mundane reality of shared debt and consequences. I saw Stephanie one last time in a bookstore downtown. She looked diminished. The vibrant confidence she always wore like a cloak was gone, replaced by a dull, resentful anger in her eyes. She saw me. Her face tightened and she turned away abruptly. There was no sadness in me, no anger, just a quiet sense of closure. She was a book I had finished reading. The house is peaceful now. I donated her things. I had the Persian rug cleaned, and it looks as good as new. The revenge wasn't a single, fiery act. It was the slow, methodical process of letting their own actions create their own prison. I didn't ruin their lives. I just held up a mirror and let them see the mess they'd made.